I, 28 male, dated my wife, 26, for 3 years before we got married a year and a half ago. I'm a white guy and she's an Indian who moved to the States for college and settled with a job here. She made it clear to me sometime into our relationship that her family wouldn't approve of her marrying outside of her religion and caste, but we both decided to go for it regardless. We didn't have much money at the time either, so we eloped and had a sweet ceremony with only our closest friends in attendance. Her parents didn't even know she was dating me at the time. Throughout our relationship, she's gotten to know my family and friends incredibly well. My sisters treat her like a sister and my parents love her. Plus, she is basically as close to my friends as me. However, even though I know she has very close ties to family and friends back in India, I've never met them and I truly don't think I come close to understanding her culture or experiencing her traditions, which I think is important because we've decided to try for kids this year and want to raise them as proud of both identities. 6 months ago, she finally told her parents about me, not about us being married, but about her dating a white guy. Recently, they finally started to come round a bit, and I decided it was probably high time I visit her home, her family, and her country. I brought this up with her, and she was initially quite hesitant about the idea. However, last night she sat me down and told me she was willing to take the trip, but it would require 2 things from me. For us to act as if we're not currently married, and to be willing to have a big wedding celebration, likely back in India fairly soon because she said things would move fast once I meet her parents. To clarify, she said we would not bear the financial burden even though we're both quite well-to-do now. I told her I didn't want to lie to them about our lives and that it's probably better to simply tell them the truth and come clean. I also don't want to have another wedding ceremony when we already had one over a year ago that to me was absolutely perfect, and I would be very uncomfortable with the same. She broke down at this and told me she couldn't keep this secret from her parents any longer and that I was being an idiot for not understanding the fact that she didn't have a choice in this and it was the only way for our relationship to work. I don't think I was unfair in not wanting to deceive my in-laws, but maybe I misunderstood something. So, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You decided it was time for you to visit her family. She's hesitant but says XYZ will make it so much easier for her and her family. You're stomping your feet not wanting to do something that will help protect your wife, the one you love. Yeah, she's the idiot for hiding the relationship and marriage, but I can understand it. How exactly do you want to raise kids with knowledge of both identities when you're refusing everything wholeheartedly? You want her to cave and make herself and her family uncomfortable, but you say another wedding ceremony celebrating the 2 of you would make you uncomfortable? Where is the compassion for your wife in all of this? Right. I'm amazed he isn't interested in the fact that a second wedding in India is normal when the couple is mixed, and the first wedding was in the States. And when they tell her parents they eloped, all bets are off. I dislike that he wants to learn about her culture and has ignored one of the things that most Americans know to be important to Indian culture. Marriage is about compromise. Pick your battles. This is not the hill I would die on. I disagree. You are not the idiot. She broke down and said she couldn't keep this secret from her parents any longer, and yet she wants to keep it a secret that you 2 are already married, that you've been married for a year and a half already. You should be very reluctant to present yourselves to her parents as an unmarried couple wanting to get married there. I don't see how anything good can come of that. Relationships with family members that start with a lie are doomed. As a Hindu Indian woman who's married to a white Christian man, get a divorce. How are you okay with all of this? Yes, there is a negative stigma, but it's called putting on your big boy pants and having conversations. I told my parents 2 months into becoming official. My husband was not going to be my dirty little secret. He deserves more respect. She isn't ready to be married and have children if she can't put her big girl pants on and act like an adult. My husband and I have a young grammar school-aged daughter together, Layla. A few months ago, Layla got a boyfriend, Lucas. They're the same age, so it's obviously not a real relationship. They just held hands sometimes and they drew each other hearts for Valentine's Day. This week, Layla was apparently holding hands with another boy, who also sent Layla a Valentine's Day love letter, and Lucas took offense to it. We found out because Lucas's parents called to tell us Lucas won't be coming over to us this Saturday as originally planned because he's mad at Layla. My husband wants us to punish Layla and wants me to talk with her about faithfulness. At first, I thought he was joking, but no, he was serious. He says that Layla cheated on Lucas and that I, as her mother, should do something about it. I told my husband that Layla is a little girl, not a cheater, and I won't treat her as such. He then accused me of raising a cheater and encouraging bad behavior. Am I the idiot for not wanting to punish Layla? I guess, according to your husband, I'm technically a bigamist since I married a boyfriend in the 3rd grade during recess and then married someone else 12 years later without properly divorcing my first husband. Also means every other relationship I had after that first wedding meant I was cheating. What a monster I am. Not the idiot, although you should talk to your daughter about hurting Lucas's feelings. LOL, I was going to say the same thing. I was 6 when my bestie and I would swap husbands every few days, so I'm in real trouble now since I've been married 3 times. LMAO, I guess I should notify my other 2 husbands that I'm married with kids too, now in this guy's mind. Kids have their rules, we have ours. My first thought was he was projecting that kind of thing onto his little daughter due to unchecked misogyny. Wise to talk to the kid because she's hurt another kid's feelings, like they're still friends and she still made him feel left out, but to call it a faithfulness issue is genuinely concerning. Kinda worried about OP's husband. Is he cheating? I was thinking he suspects his wife of cheating and was accusing her in a very strange roundabout way of putting their kid in the middle. Lucas probably isn't even viewing this as cheating. He's just in a sulk that his friend is playing with someone else and is jealous, something all kids of both genders go through. Lucas needs to learn that he doesn't own his friends, and they have the right to as many friends as they like. But that's up to his parents to deal with, not you. Stop raising fragile boys who can't handle an ounce of disappointment from anyone, but especially a girlfriend. My husband's 40 mom passed away late last year. It was very hard on him and his father. The holidays were rough. My husband is still struggling and I've been doing my best to be kind, supportive and understanding, but he's been less attentive with our 3 kids, teen female and 2 tween males, and I'm pretty sure he's struggling at work too, but he won't admit it. He started therapy about a month ago and is going once a week. A couple of weeks ago he told me he wanted to move his dad, 75, into our house. He said that his dad is struggling too and that being in the house he shared with his wife for the past 50 years isn't doing him any good. He had an entire plan laid out, so it was obvious that he's been planning this for a while without talking to me about it. He wants to move his dad into the room we just moved our middle child into last summer. Before that, our youngest 2 were sharing a room, so we did some renovations to make an extra bedroom so all our kids could have their own space. He wants to force our 2 youngest to share a room again so his dad can move in. He also wants to talk to his dad about putting their house on the market or possibly renting it out, which means father-in-law would be here long term. After he laid out his plan, he asked me what I thought, and I told him my immediate reaction was no. I told him that barely any time had passed since his mom's death and it was too soon to make such drastic changes in everyone's lives. I told him his dad would get better with time and we all needed to step back and not rush into any decisions. He wasn't happy with my response and kept asking for specific reasons other than not enough time has passed. I suggested that we look into different housing options for his dad if he's uncomfortable in his home, which I get. His dad has enough money saved to afford a good retirement home or smaller condo, which would allow everyone to have their own space still. He didn't like that idea either because it would mean his dad still lived alone. I'll admit there are reasons I didn't tell him. Seeing my husband deal with his grief has been hard, especially since it's affecting his ability to be present with the kids and me. I really don't want a second grieving man in our house. I also really don't want to kick our middle child out of the room that we just made specifically for them. That isn't fair to them. But I know if I tell my husband this, he's going to think I'm being selfish, and maybe I am. Father-in-law currently lives about 3 hours away, so visiting him is difficult. We also live in a pretty rural area, and the nearest town with respectable retirement homes is over an hour away, so even if that option isn't ideal, it's still closer. I know it sounds selfish, but I just don't think I could handle 2 grieving men in my home. I can barely handle 1 right now. My husband has been throwing it in my face that he stepped up and did pretty much everything when I struggle with my mental health. I suffer from PPD after our first and second children were born, and I lost both my parents within a year after our oldest was born. I was in a dark place for a long time, and my husband stepped up and did a lot for our kids and me while I was returning to a good place. But those situations are different, so am I the idiot? You are the idiot. His father is alone and grieving and he wants to help him. It's great that your husband is willing to take in his elderly grieving father. Their being together might help your husband in his grieving process as well, so this is important for both of them. The grieving process is hard and long, and it hasn't been very long at all for either of them. Also, it sounds like your husband stood by you completely when you had PPD and lost your parents, and you don't want to do the same for him. So really, he's the only one married. It's all one-sided with you. Father-in-law is 75 years old. If he moves in now and sells his place, the husband is signing up his wife to be a full-time caretaker and a full-time nurse. She'll have to buy him groceries, cook his meals, do his laundry, be his maid, drive him to his appointments, be his minder, etc. And keep in mind, she's already taking care of 5 people, herself included, her grieving husband, who isn't doing much himself right now, and 3 children. It's a huge ask for someone who was never raised by that man and never planned to become a caretaker, orderly, or nurse. Hard, not the idiot. I think you all discussing him selling up and buying a smaller place nearby is a better option. My problem is that we don't know what the father-in-law wants. Does he want to move, sell the house, or look for a roommate? All I hear is what the husband wants for his father. Please ask father-in-law. Father-in-law shouldn't be deciding on the house yet in his intense grief. Not his son. To sell that house this soon is nuts to me. He might get to a better place mentally and realize he shouldn't have done that. My brother Mel has 3 kids, a young teen and 2 tweens. Mel's wife passed away 4 years ago from an asthma attack. 2 years after she passed, Mel started dating again. Casually at first, but several months ago he met a woman he wanted a more serious relationship with. He told his kids about her, and after a few weeks of them knowing, he sat them down and asked them to be honest about their feelings about him finding someone and dating. His older 2 told him they were sad he wanted to be with someone else, and said that they wished he was more like grandma, mine and my brother's grandma to be specific, and be happy with the idea of their mom being his one and only, like grandma felt grandma was her one and only. They did say they would be happy for him, but that was how they felt. The youngest said they felt weird about someone maybe marrying him because they didn't want anyone taking their mom's position in the family. My brother was a lot of different things after that talk. Agitated, frustrated, and even angry. He was talking to me about it and I could see how he was responding. I suggested that he should think of it as positive that the kids want to support and be happy for him even with their feelings, and that he should be proud they could speak openly to him because many kids might have lied because they didn't feel safe to be open. That didn't help. After a couple more weeks, he was still in that same state. I suggested he speak to a therapist and he snapped at me and told me he didn't need a therapist because he knew how he was feeling. I didn't argue with him. Then, after a few hours, he called and said therapy wasn't needed and he was fine. The next day, he came to my house and asked me why I was so unbothered by it all. I asked him what he meant, and he told me he would have expected me to say the kids need to see things from his perspective. Instead, I told him I could see both of their points and that he was entitled and deserved to find happiness and love if he wanted that. He became so angry and told me I shouldn't want to deny him happiness. I told him to stop and consider that if he was reacting that negatively to what I was saying, how had he reacted to his kids, because all the things I said about the kids feeling comfortable being honest with him would go out of the window if he expressed all that anger at them for being honest when he asked for their feelings. He told me he couldn't believe I was saying he had no right to be angry and stormed off. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's not wrong for your brother to want to move on, but he shouldn't be getting angry that his children might not yet be over the death of their mother. He should be in therapy if the kids sharing their honest feelings makes him that upset. Yep, it's hilarious on one level and so sad on another that he is unironically claiming other people aren't allowing him to feel his feelings, while simultaneously being enraged that other people have dared to have feelings of their own. So why did he even ask his kids? Is the new girlfriend pregnant? Is he moving her in? What's the hurry? Why did he even ask? He truly doesn't care about their thoughts and feelings. Moving on romantically isn't the issue. The issue is he wants it to be easy, frictionless, and uncomplicated. He wants to play fully supported happy families. He wants what's best for him to be best for everyone. Really, he's learning that he can do what he wants, but it will be complicated and have consequences. I have a tradition that I take my niece, young teen, and nephew, mid-teen, on a trip to a nearby city each year. Both of the kids love this trip. One of my brothers recently got married and his wife has a daughter, mid-teen, my step-niece. My niece and step-niece are in the same grade because my niece skipped a grade and they go to the same school. My step-niece heard about the trip from the other kids and wanted to come, so I decided to take her as well. Just to be clear, all the kids are cousins. A few days ago, my sister-in-law called me and asked me to exclude my niece from the trip. She sounded really angry. I asked why, and she said that apparently my niece and a group of her friends have been bullying my step-niece. She said she didn't want my niece to be anywhere near her daughter. I told her that I understood that she was upset, but she doesn't get to tell me who I take on my trip. She kept insisting and yelling at me, saying I can't possibly expect her daughter to go on a trip with her bully. I tried to calm her down, but not only would she not calm down, but she kept screaming until I couldn't take it anymore, so I said, "No, of course, I don't expect that, so your daughter won't come on this trip then," and hung up the phone. She thinks I was a huge idiot, but I think she was acting very entitled, expecting me to exclude my niece from my trip for her. So, am I the idiot for excluding my step-niece from my trip? Edit, niece's dad is dead and that's the reason for the trip. To niece, this is connecting with her dead father's family. You are the idiot. You really are enabling her bullying. It's basically a slap in your step-niece's face that your niece ruins yet another thing. Your niece is winning. She's getting her way again. You need to have a talk with her guardians. You may not think your influences impact your niece just because you're her parent, but that's not true. As long as she has one person telling her that bullying people is okay, let's go have fun, she's going to keep doing it no matter what her guardians are doing. You are part of the problem, and you should grow up and do what is right, which begins by talking to the kids. What the ever-loving heck is wrong with people? OP is not the idiot. The trip isn't about teaching a lesson, the step-niece is an add-on. Why would she want to come on the trip anyway with the bullying going on? Step-niece's mother demanded that the niece be excluded from a trip that OP is planning. That was not her demand to make. If she doesn't want the girls to be together, that's her prerogative, but she doesn't get to dictate crap to OP. Furthermore, it's not OP's job to parent these children. Yes, the bullying needs to be addressed, but that is up to the niece's parents or guardians. I agree. I feel like people here are confused about the dynamics because everyone keeps saying OP is supposed to handle the bullying, but I know my aunts never took control of punishments. Niece still has a mom who should be making that choice. I think OP is fine for wanting to continue the trip as normal since it's about her niece's dead dad, and her step-niece has no relationship with that side. Sister-in-law is grotesquely out of line, and the step-niece should never have been invited.